I was always the one my family counted on, the one who was supposed to fix everything. From the moment I got my first real paycheck, a huge chunk of it went straight to them, every single month without fail. It felt like my money wasn't really mine, just a resource for the family pot. It wasn't a request. It was just understood, a silent agreement I'd fallen into over the years. I worked hard at my job, putting in long hours as a project manager, building a decent career, but the financial burden of supporting my parents always felt heavy on my shoulders. It wasn't just about the money, though. I was the emotional support, the problem solver, the one who stayed grounded while others drifted. My younger brother, Sam, was different. He was always the star, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. He's about 5 years younger than me, and even when we were kids, the difference in how we were treated was clear. Sam got the easy praise, the constant attention, the little extras that I never seemed to get. I was the sensible one, the one who did her homework without being told, the one who saved her allowance. He was the charming one, the one who could talk his way out of trouble, the one who got showered with affection and admiration just for being himself. I spent so many years trying to earn that same kind of love, that same level of appreciation, not for what I could give them, but for who I was. I sacrificed my own desires, my own needs, hoping that one day they would finally see me, truly see me. Our family had a small business, an old bakery that had been around forever. My parents had put their heart and soul into it for decades. They were so proud when Sam decided to take over. They talked endlessly about how he would modernize it, bring in new customers, take the old bakery to new heights. They saw him as the one who would carry on the family legacy, the golden boy finally stepping into his role. But instead of lifting it up, Sam was dragging it down. He was terrible with money, making impulsive decisions, wasting funds on things the business didn't need, and generally mismanaging everything. Mistake after mistake piled up, leaving the old bakery in serious financial trouble. It was crumbling, and my parents were in a panic. And, as always, they turned to me, the dependable daughter, the one who could fix things, to save it. The breaking point, the moment everything changed, came just a few days before my wedding. My wedding. I was finally planning something for myself, for my future with the man I loved, David. It was a huge step, a moment of real happiness I had worked so hard for. The invitations were sent, the dress was ready, the venue was booked. Everything was set. And then my mother called. "Clara," she said, her voice tight with urgency, but also with that familiar tone of expectation, like she knew I would say yes. "We need you to help us. The bakery is in trouble." Sam. Well, he just needs some support to get it back on track. My stomach just dropped. It felt like a physical blow. Here I was on the verge of starting my own life, my own family, and she was asking me to drain my entire savings, the money David and I had planned to use for our future, to cover Sam's mistakes. It was unbelievable. "Mom," I replied, trying desperately to keep my voice steady, to sound calm and reasonable, "I've always helped you. You know I have. But I can't bail out the business. I just can't. David and I have our own future to think about. We have plans." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. It stretched out, heavy and suffocating. Then she spoke, her voice cold and hard, cutting through the quiet. "So you're just going to abandon us? After everything we've done for you? You're just going to walk away when we need you most?" I closed my eyes for a second, taking a deep, shaky breath. I could feel the familiar guilt trying to creep in, the lifetime of conditioning telling me I was being selfish. But something was different this time. "I'm not abandoning anyone, Mom," I said, my voice gaining a little strength. "I'm choosing to prioritize my own life for once. I'm getting married in a few days, and I can't afford to risk everything I've saved. It's not fair to David, and it's not fair to me." Her tone grew sharper, more insistent. "Clara, this isn't just about money. It's about family. Your father and I have always counted on you. Sam needs you. If you don't step up now, the bakery could fall apart completely." My heart was pounding in my chest. It was like a drumbeat of dread. I finally understood just how deeply ingrained their expectations were. It was as if my own dreams, my own happiness, my own life didn't matter at all. It felt like my entire existence in their eyes was just to serve them and prop up Sam. "I can't, Mom," I said again, more firmly this time. "I've given you so much over the years. It's time Sam takes responsibility for his own actions." She hung up without saying another word. The line went dead, but the weight of her disappointment, her anger, hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I stood there for a long time, the phone still in my hand, feeling the familiar ache of not being enough, of always falling short of their impossible expectations. The next day, I was at my apartment, spreading out the seating chart for the wedding, trying to focus on the happy details, when there was a loud, insistent knock on my door. It wasn't the polite knock of a friend. It was demanding. I opened it, and there was my mother, her face twisted with anger, her eyes blazing. "What are you doing here?" I asked, completely taken aback. She didn't answer, just pushed past me into the apartment, barely looking at me. "How could you?" she spat, turning to face me, her hands clenched. "How could you turn your back on us when we need you most? When the family business is failing?" I took a step back, startled by the sheer intensity of her anger. "Mom, I'm not turning my back on anyone. I've done everything you've ever asked. I've given you almost half my salary every single month for years. And I'm days away from getting married. I can't just throw away my future, David's future, to fix Sam's mistakes." Her eyes narrowed, becoming slits of fury, and before I could react, before I could even anticipate it, she raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. The suddenness, the shock of it, left me completely speechless. My head snapped back, and my cheek instantly burned. "How dare you talk to me like that?" she shouted, her voice shrill with rage. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? You don't disobey me, Clara. You owe this family everything. Your life belongs to this family." My cheek was throbbing, a hot, stinging pain, but the pain that cut deeper, that truly wounded me, was in my heart. In that brutal moment, the truth hit me with full force. I was nothing more to them than a provider, a resource to be used and controlled. I had given so much of myself, my time, my money, my emotional energy, my very identity, but it was never, ever enough. My sacrifices, my love, my unwavering support over the years, none of it truly mattered because I was never the one they truly cherished, the one they truly saw. I took a shaky breath, fighting back the tears that were welling up in my eyes. My voice trembled, but I forced the words out. "Mom, I can't keep sacrificing my own happiness, my own life, to cover for everyone else's problems. I love you, but I'm not going to let you control my life any longer. Not anymore." She sneered, crossing her arms tightly across her chest, her face a mask of cold disapproval. "Fine. But don't expect us to be there for you when you come crawling back. You're making a huge mistake, Clara. A terrible, selfish mistake. Don't come running to us when your selfishness catches up to you." Her words were sharp, deliberately cruel, meant to wound and instill fear. But for the first time, I didn't feel the familiar sting of her disapproval. Instead, I felt something new, something unexpected, a strange sense of freedom, like a massive weight I hadn't even fully realized I was carrying had suddenly been lifted from my shoulders. I didn't need her approval. I didn't need her validation. This was my life, and in that moment, standing there with my cheek burning, I was finally taking control of it. After my mother stormed out, slamming the door shut behind her, I just stood there in the silence of my apartment. The air felt thick with the aftermath of the confrontation. I touched my cheek, the physical pain a stark reminder of what had just happened. But it was nothing compared to the emotional pain, the pain of a lifetime of feeling unseen and undervalued. I let the weight of it all settle over me. I had been living my entire life trying desperately to be the perfect daughter, the dependable one, the never-ending source of financial and emotional support. But the slap, her words, her complete disregard for my happiness and my future, had finally shattered the illusion. In their eyes, I was only ever a means to an end, a tool to be used for the family's benefit, particularly Sam's. That evening, David came over to help with some last-minute wedding preparations. The moment he saw my face, the redness on my cheek, the look in my eyes, He knew instantly that something terrible had happened. He didn't say anything at first, just walked over to me, his expression full of concern. He gently held my cheek, his touch soft against the burning skin, his eyes searching mine. "Clara, what happened?" he asked, his voice low and worried. I tried to keep my composure, to sound strong, but my voice shook as I told him everything. The phone call, the demand, my refusal, her visit, the argument, the slap. "My mom. She came over," I whispered, the words catching in my throat. "And she slapped me. She demanded that I bail out the family business with all my savings, right before our wedding." David's face grew dark with anger as he listened. His hands tightened around mine for a moment, then he pulled me into a fierce embrace, holding me close. "Clara, you don't deserve this," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You have done everything for them. You've given them so much. They can't just keep demanding more and more without giving anything at all in return." "I know," I whispered back, my voice barely audible against his chest. "But it's hard. It's so hard, David. I spent my whole life trying to make them proud, trying to be the person they could rely on, the one who fixed everything. And now it feels like they've never, ever seen me as anything more than a source of money and support. Just a resource." David held me tighter, his voice soft but firm, filled with unwavering support. "You are not just their support, Clara. You are a person. You are my person. You have dreams, you have hopes, you have a life, and those dreams matter. Your happiness matters. I don't want you to feel guilty for choosing yourself this time. You have every right to build your own life." Those words, simple, true, and powerful, hit me deeply. For the first time in a very long time, maybe ever, I felt like someone truly understood the weight I had been carrying. Like someone saw me, the real me, beyond the role of the dependable daughter. David wasn't just my partner. He was the one person in the world who had my back unconditionally. We spent the rest of the evening together, not talking about the fight, but going over the plans for our wedding, our future together. And for the first time, I felt like I was taking a step forward, a real step, without looking back at the past, without being pulled by the chains of expectation. In the days leading up to the wedding, the messages from my mother didn't stop. They poured in texts, voicemails, even emails, each one more intense, more guilt-tripping, more manipulative than the last. "Clara, you're making a huge mistake," one text read. "When this wedding falls apart, and it will, don't expect us to welcome you back. Family comes first, and you are putting yourself above everyone else. You are being selfish." Another voicemail was filled with tears, pleading one moment and accusing the next. "How can you do this to us? To your brother? He needs you. We need you. Don't you care about your family at all?" I read the texts, listened to the voicemails, and deleted them without responding. The guilt and shame she tried so hard to instill in me no longer had the same power. It was like the slap had broken something, yes, but it had also freed something within me. I knew, deep down, that choosing myself wasn't selfish. It was necessary. I was finally giving myself the chance to live a life that wasn't dictated by others, a life where my own happiness was important. The night before the wedding, my Aunt Susan called. She had heard about the terrible fallout with my parents, as news travels fast in families, and she wanted to check on me. "Clara," she said gently, her voice warm and kind, a stark contrast to my mother's. "I know your mother has been saying some very harsh things. I just want you to know that you are doing the right thing. You have given more than enough to this family over the years. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to build your own life." I felt a lump form in my throat, tears stinging my eyes. Aunt Susan had always been one of the few family members who genuinely cared about me, not for what I could do for them, but for who I was as a person. "Thank you, Aunt Susan," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. It's hard. Letting go of everything I've been doing for them for so long. I keep wondering if I'm making the wrong choice, if I'm a terrible person." "You are not," she replied firmly. "You are just finally choosing yourself, Clara. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You are brave for doing this." Hearing her say that, hearing someone from my family validate my feelings and my decision, made me feel a little lighter, a little stronger. With her support and David's unwavering love, I felt ready to face my wedding day, knowing that I was stepping into a future that I had chosen, a future that was mine. The morning of the wedding arrived, bright and clear. As I got ready, surrounded by my closest friends, a sense of calm washed over me. It wasn't the anxious nervousness I usually felt before any family gathering. It was a quiet, steady determination. This day was mine and David's. It was a celebration of a new chapter, a chapter that I had chosen to write. As I looked at myself in the mirror, dressed in my wedding gown, I felt like I was finally seeing the real me, the person who had been hidden beneath layers of expectation and obligation for so long. I was free. David's family was there, warm and welcoming, treating me like I was already one of their own. A few of my closest friends were there too, their smiles and support a comforting presence. And Aunt Susan was there, a beacon of love and validation in the midst of everything. When I walked down the aisle, my heart full, and saw David waiting for me, his face just lit up with pride and warmth. It was a look that said, "I see you, Clara. I see the real you, and I love her." In that moment, walking towards him, I knew that everything I had endured, all the years of hardship, sacrifice, and feeling invisible, had led me to this moment of pure joy and freedom. We exchanged our vows, promising to be there for each other, to support each other's dreams, to see and cherish each other for who we truly were. David's vows were especially meaningful to me. He spoke about standing by my side, supporting my dreams, and seeing me for who I truly was, not just for what I could give or do. Those words felt like a healing balm, soothing the pain of years of feeling unseen and undervalued by my own family. After the ceremony, we moved to a small reception with just our closest friends and family. It was simple, intimate, and filled with genuine laughter, love, and happiness. There were no pretenses, no hidden agendas, no expectations of what I owed anyone. For the first time in my life, I felt truly surrounded by people who celebrated me simply for being myself, not for the support I provided or the role I played. As the reception wound down, a deep sense of peace settled over me. I realized that while my parents and Sam had chosen to distance themselves from me, effectively cutting me off because I wouldn't conform to their demands, I had chosen something else. I had chosen to start a life that was truly mine, a life built on love, respect, and mutual support, shared only with those who truly valued me. In the days following the wedding, David and I packed up our apartment and moved to a new city, Portland. We were eager to start fresh, to build our life together in a place where we could create our own future without the constant shadow of my family's demands and expectations. It was a big change, a new adventure. But the transition wasn't entirely smooth. Even in Portland, miles away, the past tried to cling to me. Just days after we settled into our new apartment, surrounded by unpacked boxes, I received yet another message from my mother. It was blunt, harsh, and filled with the same old accusations. "You have abandoned your family. You chose yourself over us. When things go wrong, and they will, don't expect us to be there for you. You made your bed, now lie in it." The words still stung, a familiar ache, but as I read them, I felt a newfound resilience. I knew these were the same manipulative tactics she had used my entire life, the same guilt-laden words meant to pull me back under their control, to make me doubt myself. But this time, I didn't feel the familiar pull, the urge to apologize or try to fix things. Instead, I felt a quiet strength, a certainty that I had made the right choice. David noticed the change in me one evening as we sat on our small balcony, looking out at the city lights of Portland. He wrapped his arm around me, pulling me close. "Clara, I'm so incredibly proud of you," he said, his voice warm and sincere. "I know how hard all of this has been, but you have come so far. You are free from all of that now. You are building your own life, your own future, and it's amazing to watch." His words were simple, but they filled me with a sense of accomplishment and validation that I hadn't realized I was craving for years. For so long, I had been burdened by the pressure to please my family, to be the perfect daughter, the unwavering supporter, the one who always put their needs first. But here I was, finally able to breathe, finally able to live for myself, for us. Weeks turned into months, and life with David in Portland felt like everything I had ever hoped for. We explored the city, found our favorite coffee shops, built a cozy home together. We talked endlessly about our dreams, our plans for the future, our hopes of starting a family someday. Our life was simple, yes, but it was ours. It was built on a foundation of mutual respect, love, and support, free from the toxic cycle I had been trapped in for so long. One afternoon, I received a call from my cousin Chris. He had heard about everything that had happened, the wedding, the move, the silence from my parents, and he wanted to reach out. "Clara, I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry," he said, his voice filled with genuine remorse. "I never understood why they treated you that way. You always deserved better. You were always the one holding things together." Hearing those words, an apology I hadn't expected, brought a lump to my throat. Knowing that someone else in my family saw my struggles, that they understood the unfairness of it all, meant more to me than I could express. "Thank you, Chris," I replied softly, my voice thick with emotion. "It's been hard, but I'm finally in a place where I feel free, where I can just be myself." Chris's words reminded me that while I had distanced myself from my parents and Sam, there were still people in my family who cared, who saw me for who I was. Over the following months, I began to cautiously rebuild relationships with those who had always supported me. My Aunt Susan, Uncle George, a few cousins like Chris and Maria, and my close friends. They were the people who saw me, truly saw me, not just for what I could give, but for the person I was. However, my relationship with my parents remained strained, a distant echo of the past. I couldn't forget the years of manipulation, the expectation that I would always put them first, the painful memory of the slap, or the way they had consistently prioritized Sam over me. Every time I thought about reaching out, about trying to mend things, I remembered the hurt, the endless sacrifices, and the undeniable fact that I was only ever valued for what I could provide. Deep down, in the quietest part of my heart, I knew I couldn't go back to that cycle. I accepted, with a mix of sadness and resolve, that my life was healthier, happier, and better without their constant influence and demands. Then one day, months after the wedding, long after I had stopped checking for messages, I received a final message from my mother. It was simple, short, almost desperate. "I miss you, Clara. Please call me." I stared at the screen, the words pulling at a familiar thread of guilt, a lifetime of conditioning urging me to respond, to fix things, to be the good daughter. But this time I didn't waver. I looked around at the life David and I had built together in Portland, the cozy apartment, the shared dreams, the peace and independence I had fought so hard to achieve. I looked at the future stretching out before us, a future that was ours to create. And I knew, with absolute certainty, what I had to do. As I pressed send, a wave of closure washed over me. It wasn't a dramatic wave, but a quiet, steady tide. I had finally let go of the past, of the expectations, the obligations, the need for approval that had weighed me down for so long. I looked at David, at the life we were building together, brick by brick, based on love and respect. And for the very first time in my life, I felt truly, completely free.